The world does not remember cautious men. It does not carve their names into stone. It does not name months after them, does not build temples in their honor, does not whisper their words 2,000 years after they drew their last breath. The world remembers the men who moved when every rational voice said, "Wait." The men who crossed the river when crossing the river meant war. The men who looked at the known world and decided it was not enough. Julius Caesar was born into a name with no money behind it. The Julian clan was ancient, noble, and broke. His family traced their bloodline back to Venus herself, goddess of love, mother of Aeneas, founder of the Roman line. On paper, extraordinary. In practice, Caesar grew up watching a prestigious name mean less and less in a city that respected power above all things. He learned the lesson early. A name without power is a ghost. Reputation without force behind it is a story people use to tell about you. And he decided, before most boys his age had begun to understand the world they lived in, that he would not be a ghost. He would not coast on ancestry. He would build something real, something visible, something that could not be ignored or dismissed or stripped from him by the indifference of time. He borrowed money he could not repay to throw the most extravagant public games Rome had ever seen. He walked into the poorest districts of the city and spoke to ordinary people the way no patrician ever had, looking them in the eyes, learning their names, understanding what they needed and what they feared. He understood something that most aristocrats never grasped. Power does not flow only from the top down. It rises from the ground. The man who controls the streets controls the city. The man who controls the city controls everything else. He was captured by pirates crossing the Aegean Sea as a young man. His captors demanded a ransom. He told them the number was an insult. He was worth more than that, and they should double it. He lived among them for 38 days, writing poetry, exercising, sleeping soundly, treating his captors like subordinates and servants, rather than men who held his life in their hands. He told them, laughing, that once he was free, he would come back and crucify every one of them. They laughed. He raised the ransom, sailed back with a fleet, captured them all, and nailed them to crosses. This was Julius Caesar at 25 years old, not yet a general, not yet a politician of consequence, just a young man with an ancient name and a specific understanding of how the world worked. Boldness was not recklessness. It was a calculated message sent to everyone watching. This man does not operate by the rules that govern ordinary people, and once that message is delivered and believed, the rules that govern ordinary people stop applying to you. He studied oratory until he was one of the finest speakers in the Roman world. He understood that words were weapons, that the man who could move a crowd to tears and then stir them to action controlled something more powerful than any army. Armies could be defeated on a battlefield. A man who commands belief, who makes thousands of people feel that their own fate is tied to his, that man cannot be simply outfought. He has to be outthought, and most of his enemies never managed that. When he finally took command of Roman legions in Gaul, he was a politician with enormous debts, powerful enemies, and a narrow window. He needed victories. He needed wealth. He needed a legend. And he understood that all three of these things would only come through the same path: total commitment, total speed, total refusal to accept the limitations that the world had placed on what was possible. He moved into Gaul like a force of nature. Tribes that expected months to prepare found Roman soldiers at their gates in days. He marched through weather that halted other armies. He crossed rivers that military doctrine said required weeks of preparation. He crossed them in days, sometimes hours. His men could not fully explain it. They simply knew that when Caesar said move, movement was the only response, because hesitation in his army meant being left behind, not punished, left behind. And no soldier who served under Julius Caesar wanted to be anywhere but at the front of what he was building. He fought not just with legions, but with information. He studied every tribe before engaging them, their leadership structures, their internal rivalries, their ancient grievances against neighboring peoples. He knew who hated whom and why. He turned those hatreds into alliances. He divided confederations that might have resisted him into factions that competed for his favor instead. He was not just a battlefield commander. He was a reader of human nature, patient and precise, who saw the psychological terrain as clearly as he saw the physical one. At the Battle of the Nervi, the most dangerous tribe in all of Gaul ambushed his army while they were still building their camp. Warriors who had been hiding in the forests for hours poured across the river at full sprint and hit his lines before formations could be organized. Centurions fell, units scattered. The battle collapsed into chaos within minutes of beginning. Caesar grabbed a shield from a passing soldier and walked to the worst point of the line. Not rode, walked, without his helmet, so every man could see his face. He moved from centurion to centurion, giving orders, repositioning men with his hands, calling soldiers by their names. And as he moved through the chaos, something extraordinary happened. The army stabilized, not because of the orders he gave, because of what his presence communicated. The man with the most to lose in this entire army is standing in front of you without armor, and he is not afraid. Which means you do not have to be afraid either. Which means we are not finished. They were not finished. He understood that great leadership is not performed from safety. It is demonstrated at the moment of maximum danger. Anyone can lead when things are going well. Anyone can give orders from a comfortable position. The man who walks to the front when the line is breaking, who makes himself the most visible person on the worst part of the field, that man creates something in the hearts of the people around him that no amount of speeches or incentives or discipline can manufacture. He creates the belief that this is winnable. And belief is the most powerful military force that has ever existed. He crossed the Rhine, built a bridge in 10 days across a river that was supposed to be the boundary of the known world, crossed into German territory, demonstrated what Rome could do, and came back. He sailed to Britain, an island most Romans had never seen, fought battles on a shore the ancient world treated as the edge of existence, and returned. He did not hold these territories. He was not trying to hold them. He was trying to send a message that could not be sent any other way. There is nowhere this army cannot go. There is no river, no ocean, no boundary of nature or imagination that will stop us. And when that message reached the tribes, still considering resistance in Gaul, many of them stopped considering resistance. Intimidation is most powerful before the battle. The army that makes you believe the fight is already decided wins twice. Once in your mind, once on the field. The greatest test of his Gallic campaigns came from a man worthy of him. Vercingetorix was young, educated, and brilliantly strategic. He unified tribes that had spent generations fighting each other. He understood what no other Gallic leader had understood. You cannot beat Roman legions in a straight fight, so do not fight them straight. He burned Gallic towns before Caesar could use them as supply bases. He destroyed crops. He harassed supply lines and vanished back into terrain his cavalry knew better than any Roman scout. He was trying to starve the greatest military mind of the age out of a continent. It nearly worked. Caesar found himself in Gaul in winter with diminishing supplies, stretched lines, and a rebellion that had consumed the territory he thought was pacified. Any other commander would have consolidated, retreated to secure positions, waited for spring. Caesar advanced. He cornered Vercingetorix at the hilltop fortress of Alesia and surrounded it with miles of siege fortifications, walls and trenches and towers, built in weeks by men who had been marching and fighting for years. Then an enormous Gallic relief army arrived behind him. He built a second ring of fortifications facing outward. His army was surrounded, besieging the fortress from inside while being attacked from outside by a force that outnumbered them dramatically. For a full day, they were hit from both directions simultaneously. The relief army found the weakest point in his outer fortifications and nearly broke through. Caesar rode along the lines in his red cloak, visible to every soldier on both sides, and when the moment came, he sent his last cavalry reserve around the flank of the relief army in a move that hit them from a direction they had not anticipated. The relief army broke. Vercingetorix walked out of Alesia the next morning on horseback, fully armed, circled Caesar once, and laid his weapons at his feet. Caesar put him in chains. He kept him that way for 6 years. He did not execute him out of hatred. He executed him at the moment of maximum public visibility, during his triumph in Rome, because Vercingetorix was not just a man. He was a symbol. And leaving a symbol alive is leaving a fire burning in the walls of your house. You do not always see it, until you do. The boldness, the speed, the ability to control narrative, the refusal to be paralyzed by the scale of the obstacle, the understanding that mercy can be a weapon and presence can be armor, and a story told well can outlast an empire.